Hello, welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Crisis Hate Labour Party as Ogun chapter sacks Obi's campaign DG, Doyin Okupe. Also, President Buhari accuses governors of squandering local government allocation. Wike asks President to name culprits. And later on the show, you are provoking me. Notorious bandits, Bello Turji warns Nigerian armed forces. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions. But first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. I have joining me via Zoom the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, who is in transit.
On the road, but we'll get the job done, whatever happens.
Absolutely, BK. So let's begin. Following the expulsion of the Director General of Peter Obi, Dati Presidential Campaign Council, Doyin Okupe and 11 others for refusing to pay their membership dues, the National Secretariat of the party has declared the suspension null and void and of no effect. Help us understand the politics of things in Peter Obi's party, BK.
Well, the most important thing for us to do is find out if indeed Doyin Okupe and other people that have been suspended have indeed committed any infraction. It is always said that politics is local. You register to join a party in your ward. As we all saw with Adams Oshiomhole, he was the national chairman of the APC, but he was suspended at his ward, which means that if people want to wage a war against you as a leader in a political party, they will first go to your ward to discipline you. It also happened to the former national chairman of the PDP, Uche Secondus. Uche Secondus' people at his ward decided to suspend him indefinitely. It was at that point that it became clear that Wike's war against Uche Secondus was not a child's play. It became clear at that point that Wike was not joking. He was very determined. The case Doyin Okupe is not the only person. There are others like the state youth leader, the senatorial woman leader, as well as the woman leader state. This all of them were suspended, and as far as the people suspended them are concerned, they are non-financial members of the party. They are guilty of political rascality as well as misappropriation of funds. As I said, it is early days. We have to first discover whether indeed Doyin Okupe commit and others like him, including the woman leader, committed these offenses. You are supposed to pay your dues as a political party. I know someone who contested for the governorship ticket in one of the northern states who was accused of not paying his party dues regularly, and on account of that was even disqualified. So people can have issues at the local level. It is at that local level that you can actually be suspended. If the party leadership at the national level decides to suspend you, you can go to court. You can go to court as long as the process of suspension did not emanate at that local level of your ward, or even at the state level. I saw that even in the case of the late Ahmed, the former national vice chairman northwest of the APC. He challenged his suspension by the national leadership of the party on the basis that the process ought to have originated from his ward right up to the state and then the national level. So in this case, the local chapter of Okupe's party has the power to punish him, but of course, that also has to be done with the national leadership being carried along. But if we go back to what happened to Adams Oshiomhole, of course, he was suspended at the local level. At the national level, his suspension was opposed, but the people who suspended him at local level stuck to their guns, and Oshiomhole could not get the court to render his suspension a nullity. And it was one of the factors that forced him to finally give up his position as national chairman of the APC. Because at that local level, they have the power to suspend you. They have the power to send you packing. So it's early days, as I said. Because when I was reading one of the commentators, he said, if the national leadership of the party feels that it was wrong to suspend Doyin Okupe and others, then they should go to court. The court will decide whether they did anything wrong by punishing Doyin Okupe and others. So this is yet another opportunity to test our law, to test the waters of our law and see whether any infraction has been committed by punishing Doyin Okupe. My feeling is that some people at that local level of the party felt that given the rising profile of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, people like Doyin Okupe had sidelined them, had begun to treat them with levity, had begun to treat them without respect. So I'm not surprised that this has happened, because you can see some of the allegations leveled against them. It's marked of people who looked at them as people who have shown no respect to the leadership of the party at that level. So, as I said, it's early days. We'll see what happens in the next few days. But one thing is clear: the leadership, the central leadership of the party, has passed literally a vote of confidence in Okupe. They believe in Okupe. They do not want to see him out of the party. They are happy to work with him. And this is Okupe's saving grace for now. Whether this will be enough to keep him in the party, we really can't tell. But it's not a good sign, because we have been saying that the Labour Party is not strong enough in the Southwest. And now we are seeing this. How can the party hope to win in a state like Ogun, for example, if it cannot put its house in order? This will be a big distraction to the party as it continues to campaign to see if it can win the presidential election.
All right, Bikio, let me quickly take these two comments and then we'll go to the next topic. Fabian Akese says, what Peter Obi fails to understand is that it's those close to him that will be the first to betray him and sell their support to Bat. Peter Obi should never have left Abga. And Tony Goodman says, Jide, in my view, Doyin Okupe has no political ideology. He's only looking for what to eat. I know he must have compromised financially. That's their opinions, though. But then, because of our time, we need to raise to the next topic, where President Muhammad Buhari, accused state governors of thwarting development by forcing council chairman to sign that they have received 100% of funds allotted to local government, but pocket half of what the council chairman signed for. Is this damning expose reviewed by the president? BKO.
You know, this sort of thing has been happening for some time, and I spoke briefly about a local government chairman who was suspended by a governor, a former governor in one of the central states, because he opposed his tampering with local government funds. I also know some governors who have been put on trial for tampering with local government funds. It's unfortunate that we have found ourselves in this situation. The Constitution clearly sees the local government as an important tier of government and expects that financially it will have its autonomy. It will be able to have access to all the funds allocated to it from the FAC. But what we see is that governors routinely take part of the funds meant for local councils and use those funds to execute their own projects, thereby leaving council chairmen with little or nothing to point to as projects executed by them. And when these chairmen take up arms or decide to confront these governors, they usually end up being removed from office. This has been happening for some time. They will just get the House of Assembly, that is usually in the pocket of governors, to suspend a local government chairman, and ultimately that local government chairman will be kicked out. Governors want to control what happens at the local government level. Some of them run local governments through sole administrators. They do this also so that they can have unfettered access to the funds from the local councils. To these governors, there is no reason for the local governments to be on their own. They think that state and local governments should actually be one entity, while the federal government also stands as one entity. But that is not what the framers of our constitution thought was right. So the framers of our constitution saw the need to have the local government stand on its own. But governors have never thought that local governments should stand on their own. They tamper with the funds from local governments. They use those funds the way they like. They give this chairman what they want, and the local government chairman usually have so little to work with. And local governments are naturally supposed to be in charge of primary education, for example. They're supposed to pay teacher salaries and all that. But you find that in most cases, the funds to execute projects of their own, the funds to run the councils and ensure that salaries of council workers are paid are denied them. So this is the unfortunate situation that we have found ourselves as a country. So Mr. President came up with the idea of executive order the other day. The reason he came up with the idea of the executive order was to ensure that funds from the federation account get sent directly by the Accountant General of the Federation to chairmen of local governments. But governors opposed this idea. They went to court and defeated the president.
Yeah.
The court ruled that there was no need for Mr. President to use the executive order to compel the autonomy of local councils and the judiciary to happen. I mean, to compel the autonomy of legislative houses in the country as well as the judiciary to happen. Of course, they sought audience with the president and complained about the idea of the executive order. So what the president wanted was let houses of assembly receive their money straight from federation account. Let the judiciary have their funds transferred straight from the federation account to the heads of the judiciary in the respective states. And the head of the judiciary would then use those funds just the way they deem fit. They can start their own projects and execute them with the funds allocated to them direct from source. So for governors who are not creative, who think that funds available to them are never enough, who have been taking loans all over the place, the fact that they run joint account with local councils enables them to tamper with these funds and give these council chairmen just what they like. So this has been happening for a long time, and the president was just disappointed about the poor level of development in at the local government level, and is convinced that if this council chairman had access to funds directly, they would be able to do a lot more, and we won't be seeing little or no development at the local government level. So
Absolutely,
this is why he complained. I expect the president to go further and expose the local government, the governors who are notorious for tampering with the funds of the local government. It makes absolute sense to expose such governors, and they need to show us what they use those funds to do, because it's even possible that the funds meant for local governments are being used to service the greed of a lot of our governors. So it makes sense for the president, just as Wike has demanded, to mention names, name names. Let's know who those governors are. Some of them could actually be seeking re-election. So let's know them so that Nigerians can decide their fate. If you've been tampering with local government funds and we can't even see what you've done, with the local government funds, then the people should be able to decide whether you deserve to be elected or not. So these are the issues. I think the
Well,
autonomy
makes
of
sense.
local
Okay.
government is necessary, but if you look at what's been happening in terms of the um, attempt to amend the constitution, you will see that in many of our states, because the governors have so much control over the houses of assembly, they have made sure that many houses of assembly did not sign up to the idea of autonomy for local governments. The other day, the deputy senate president was complaining that the attempts to achieve autonomy for local governments have been
Yeah.
frustrated,
Right.
even
Biko, let me cut
at
in.
state level, with state house of assembly, with some of those states refusing to agree to the idea. And you need a preponderance of the states, at least two-thirds of the states in our country, to agree to um, to autonomy for the states before it can happen. But the governors
Yeah,
are
Biko.
battling hard, pressing buttons and stopping those houses of assembly
Yeah.
from agreeing to autonomy for local government. So,
Right. Right. Biko.
it's too much.
Because I just wanted to quickly react to these very, very briefly because we're running out of time. Fabian also said something. He said President Buhari is accusing state governors in his seventh year in office, but he refused to sign the executive order that would have prevented it. He is trying to salvage his administration. It's too late. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, I don't think an executive order would have made that happen. You need an amendment to the constitution, and even before 2019, we saw the senators move around. There were what's it called? There were public hearings to that effect. But now the process must go around the states of the federation. The process must go around. But the reason we have not had it is many of the states refused to agree to the idea of autonomy for local governments. Let me tell you why a lot of the states disagree. A lot of the houses of assembly in the states disagree. If local governments get autonomy, it means that the oversighting that houses of assembly do would be taken away from them, and the National Assembly will be the one saddled with the task of oversighting the the local governments. This is one reason many of the state houses of assembly are opposed to this idea. Because I spoke with a speaker yesterday and he told me this is the main reason. Because if you are chairman of the house committee on local governments, for example, it's a very powerful position. You can suspend any local government chairman. So they get patronized and they enjoy exercising that power. But if the local governments get autonomy, that means the power of oversighting will go
Yeah.
to the National Assembly, and that is not what a lot of these people in the state houses of assembly want to see.
Yeah.
That's why they frustrated it, and the deputy senate president was very angry that, look, we made moves to have these local governments get autonomy, but at the level of the state houses of assembly, this
Just
was
squash it.
frustrated
Yeah.
because you need their buy-in. At least two-thirds of the House of Assembly in our country must
Yeah.
agree to it before it can be um, subject
All
of
right.
amendment, before that amendment can happen. So this is the
Yeah.
thing. The president
Absolutely.
cannot by fiat make that happen. And even when he tried to use the executive order to impose autonomy in the judiciary and in the legislative arm of government. These governors went to court to oppose the idea of the president using the executive order, and they defeated the president in court.
All right, be
So
careful.
what can the president do at that stage? So this is the thing. It's not as if he didn't want to do it. But even his executive order was defeated and rendered illegal by a court.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, big hill. Yeah, so let's quickly race to the last topic. A notorious terrorist and bandit leader, Bello Turji, has said the Nigerian government was not interested in ending banditry because some of its officials benefit from it, and also accused the government of provoking them to break the peace pact with the residents. We are not exactly sure what to believe. Bikeo.
Well, I will not say that some people are not benefiting from banditry, especially some of our men in the armed forces. There is no way that you can say that some of them are not benefiting from banditry. In fact, some soldiers are known to have been arrested for conniving with bandits. So these things happen, and states have been able to spend a lot more on security. And I know that some of the money spent on security will eventually go into private pockets and all that. So no one can say the allegation by Turji is totally false. But Turji indeed announced that he was ready to lay down his arms at the peak of the bombing raids by the Nigerian Air Force, just after the Air Force began to use Tucano bombers in the north central and in the northwest, after bandits were declared terrorists. My suspicion was that he said that so that they will stop attacking them. To negotiate with bandits is a waste of time because they always come back when they are broke to attack our people. Somebody who had been used to making money, by attacking communities, stealing their cattle and all that. If he suddenly lays down his arms, he won't have access to the kind of money that he used to make. And everyone knows that there's a lot of money in banditry. If those guys if those the terrorists who attack those train passengers, if they could take 100 million from each of the abductees and made them to pay in dollars, you cannot tell me that this is not lucrative. It's extremely lucrative. You struggle to find anything more lucrative than that. And that's why these guys will not give this thing up. I am embarrassed that Turji could be asking the armed forces why they have not killed him. You said you wanted to kill me, so why haven't you killed me? Because we have attacked his camp a number of times. So it's possible that some moles, some fifth columnists in the armed forces always give him information, so that he can escape before the attack happened. He even alluded to it that he left his house 5 minutes or so before the jets came to bomb his residence. So perhaps he got information and just quietly slipped out of the area. So I still think that it makes no sense to negotiate with Turji and others, because what Turji is doing is compelling our people to pay money in exchange for peace. A situation in which our people have to fork out a lot of money in exchange for peace is not what we want to see. We want to see lasting peace. The person who has taken money from you in order to give you guarantee for peace can come back anytime he runs out of money. So Turji has offered to not attack people in the Shinkafi area. He is actually from Shinkafi. But how about other areas where he has not entered into this form of agreement and is known to terrorize and torture our people who default in payment of money to him in exchange for peace? So if the armed forces will redouble their efforts, I know that someday Turji will be made to pay for the killing of our people. I do not subscribe to the idea of making peace with him, because making peace with him is not the permanent solution to this problem. You've got to defeat banditry, and the government and the armed forces have all that it takes to defeat banditry in our country. It's just the will, the political will, that is not there. Once the political will is there, we will be able to defeat these guys.
Yeah.
Whatever investment in weaponry that we need to do, we have to do it and put an end to the nonsense that Turji and others are doing to our people. Killing our people, torturing our people, and forcing our people to not go to their farms. And those who take the risk to go to their farms without paying some form of money get killed. Our government placed 5 million bounty on Turji, and up till now, they've not been able to kill him. And people know where their camps are. People know where all the big bandits in the northwest. People know where their camps are. So why is it difficult to wipe out these people? I believe that it's possible if the will is there. Hearing this kind of insult from Turji makes me sad. It's not his fault. How can a boy who is barely 30 years be terrorizing people and even insulting our armed forces? I said, you said you are going to kill me. What are you waiting for? I mean, this should be a challenge to the military to make him pay for this kind of insulting remarks that seek to diminish our military.
All right, Bikio, Mark Oyaide says, isn't it obvious that the security situation is overwhelming for the federal government and that the decentralization is the way to go? This is the reason we need state policing. And Tony Goodman says, Jide, don't you think that Bello Turji is only scared for his life by that statement? Why is he making the comments now?
Now, I don't think, see, for some of these guys, they live for the day. They don't care if death comes. In fact, I said some time ago that one of the bandits said the people who go to mosque to pray, the people who go to church are cowards because they are afraid to die. So these guys are not afraid to die. So I don't even think this is cowardice. Anybody who takes to the kind of life that Turji has decided to live knows that death can come anytime. And he too has killed so many people, so I'm not sure that he's afraid to die. But he wants to live for as long as he can. He wants to enjoy life for as much as he can enjoy. So we have to deny him the freedom of moving around, of sending his people to terrorize our people, taking money from our people before they can have access to their farms and all that. I mean, you can't have a government within a government. If it's forcing people to pay tax, it's not FRS, for God's sake. And these people, there are places where Turji is in complete control, and he removed the district head in those places and put his own district heads. This is what he's doing in Sokoto and some other places. It is his own people that are in charge. They've seen Turji even attending mosque and addressing the people. So why shouldn't we kill him? I agree that the security problem is almost overwhelming, but we also need help, whether in form of training or in form of supply of armament. We need it. Look at what is happening in Ukraine with American weapons. See the way Russia is being disgraced.
Yeah.
See the way Russia is being disgraced. You occupied Ukraine since March. You thought it would be just for a few days, that you'll get the job done in a few days, but they are losing territory that they once controlled.
All right, BKO.
Look at what they did to them, and yeah. So this is the thing. If we get the right weapons from America, from the UK, and our friends, we can actually get this job done. I'm very confident about that.
Absolutely.
That if we get the right weapons, we get even training. It will really benefit the armed forces.
Absolutely, BKO. We've got to go, but Tony Goodman is actually begging something from you. He said, Jide, I love your car. Please, can you dash me the car, please?
This car that he wants me to dash him, I've been using it for 5 years.
Wow.
It's not exactly new. It's not exactly new.
So maybe when you want to do giveaway,
by the time he sees it, and some of the places where it has been hit here and there, I'm sure his opinion will change. It's not exactly a new car. And that is why next time I'll make sure that I do not do this inside the car.
And that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for this insightful analysis, as always, BKO.
Thank you.
Right. And thank you to our audience for joining us on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms, TVC News NG, and also at Ibrahim TVC News. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.